Hey guys, welcome to Digit.in, and our topic of discussion today is the Xiaomi Mi 10. This is the first flagship smartphone from Xiaomi in India in years, and like most other high-end smartphones in 2020, the Mi 10 also sports 5G support and the Snapdragon 865 under the hood. And that's because this is a smartphone priced under Rs 50,000 that is bringing the 108MP sensor for the first time. Xiaomi is using the Samsung ISOCELL Bright HMX sensor, that is the largest camera sensor available for smartphones right now. And you get 108MP in resolution with 0.8 micron pixels, which are then binned 4:1 to produce sharper images. The logic behind the sensor is actually the same as the 48MP and 64MP cameras you find in smartphones these days, but the sheer number of megapixels in this sensor should make things interesting. The same 108MP sensor also lets you take photos at 1x and 2x even in the 108MP high-res mode, while by default it takes 25 megapixel photos, which is acquired by binning the pixels 4:1. The file size of the photos measure from anywhere between 25 to 40 megabytes when you're using the 108MP mode, while at 25MP mode, the photo file size tends to be around 15 to 20 MB. Other than that, there's a ultra-wide lens, a 13 megapixel ultra-wide lens, and two 2 megapixel sensors, one for depth measuring and another for macro photos. So that completes the quad camera setup at the back. On the front, you get a 20 megapixel punch hole camera, which is to be used for selfies. So that's the camera setup on the Mi 10. Let's quickly take a look at how these cameras actually perform. But before we get there, don't forget to hit the bell icon so that you can stay up to date with the latest and greatest in tech from us. So let's start with the 108 megapixel sensor first. There's a dedicated 108MP mode that lets you shoot in 2x to take a shot, and quite expectedly, the camera takes a good 2 to 3 seconds to process the image before you can shoot another one. Here's how they look. The 108MP photos, when taken under adequate lighting, come out super sharp with good dynamic range. The details are also quite commendable to an extent, but at 100% crop, they may look a little washed out. The results are similar at 2x zoom as well. The sensor achieves this by using interpolation and lets you zoom in a little closer, and the details and sharpness doesn't really suffer all that much. But then again, we took another photo in the 108MP mode, but this time with a bit of tricky lighting, where part of the frame was lit up and the other part was a little dark, and that's where my dog was sitting. And as you can see, the camera couldn't really get all the details on the face of my dog quite well, and even the area that is dark has a lot of noise when you zoom in. So the verdict is that you can use the 108MP mode if there's uniform lighting all around to get the best results. Anything else will result in photos that may not look the best, but it's still quite commendable at what Xiaomi manages to achieve. The bin mode is where the magic happens. This is where Xiaomi has deployed all its algorithms and optimizations to make the photo look good. The AI scene recognition also kicks in automatically when turned on, and it creates a distinguishable difference in the photos. But the fact remains that the camera does take sometimes a little too long to shoot the photo even when you're in the bin mode. So you may just miss a shot if you're trying to take one of an object that is moving, or the one where you just need to quickly whip out your camera and take a photo. That's when this camera is gonna let you down a little bit. Here's a photo in the bin mode taken with AI off, and here's one with AI turned on. Do you notice how this hue changes in the sky when the AI is turned on? That's what we're talking about. But more than that, I like the colors the camera produces. It does look a little saturated, but one can't deny it improves the photo to a large extent, particularly for sharing on social media. However, if you look at the details at 100% crop, there's a lot of noise in areas that are not well lit. This shows Xiaomi is using its own detail enhancing algorithm on top of binning the pixels 4:1. But that's something you'll only notice if you nitpick. On face value, the 108MP primary camera, even when it's in bin mode, produces some exceptionally good photos. Verdict: The bin mode quickly became my favorite mode to shoot photos on from this phone, and right down from the color to the dynamic range and the sharpness as well is pretty good and is probably some of the best that we have seen in this segment. Having said that, the shutter lag that the camera experiences does tend to mar the experience to an extent, but if you can look past it, this camera is perfectly usable to take really high quality photos. Now let's talk about the ultra wide and macro lens. These are standard sensors that Xiaomi offers in most of the budget phones, but the difference here is the image processing thanks to the Snapdragon 865. It helps maintain parity and consistency with the 108MP sensor and the ultra wide lens. You can see how the color reproduction is almost similar from both modes. The ultra-wide lens is also able to retain details to a good extent, and the photos come out nice and sharp. Now the macro lens, as a matter of fact, is the weakest link in this camera setup. The 2 megapixel resolution just can't match up to the likes of the 13MP and the 108MP resolution that the other two lenses offers, and that shows when you try to zoom in on a macro shot. Having said that, the colors and the sharpness are more or less on point if you don't try to nitpick a lot. The macro lens also lets you shoot 1080p videos using the lens, so that you can go really up close to probably a product that you're shooting with the camera and get some okayish results, enough to share probably on Instagram or Facebook. Now coming to low light photos, the night mode works like all other smartphones. You won't be able to use the mode to take close-ups or shoot moving objects, but the larger sensor helps in making some well-detailed low light shots of landscapes. The camera does sometimes overexpose the sky and make the photos look like they were taken in the day, but in most cases they look just fine. The night mode only works with the 108MP lens at 1x and 2x zoom, and not with the ultra-wide lens. At 2x, the details are commendable, but zoom in and you will notice it's mostly achieved in post-processing. Now moving on to videos, the Mi 10 can also shoot 8K videos, and since we didn't have a display of that resolution to see how the videos turn up, we don't really know how the 8K videos actually look on that large screen. But on the phone, it does look like any other video taken from the phone, albeit a little less sharper. The Mi 10 also comes with a steady video mode, which I actually found quite useful. I have a habit of taking videos while I'm out walking my dog, and keeping my hand steady can be a problem. So I turned on the steady video mode on the Mi 10 and tried to shoot a video, which you can see on your screen right now, and the mode was able to cancel out all the big shakes quite well, but at the cost of a cropped out frame. There's also a track object mode under videos that keeps the focus locked onto the moving object, like my dog in this case in this video. Now there are a lot more features in the Mi 10 to explore, like a well-detailed portrait mode, a short video mode, and a vlog mode, which we're gonna let you guys take a look at when you get the chance to have the phone in your hands. There's also a very detailed pro mode that lets you shoot 25 megapixel raw images. That's also quite useful if you want to take your photography beyond the amateur level. Other than that, the camera UI will be familiar to almost everyone who has used a Xiaomi smartphone before. Everything is right where it should be on a Xiaomi smartphone, and there's no surprises here whatsoever. To sum up, Xiaomi seems to have a winner in their hands with the Mi 10 as far as the cameras are concerned. Now before we have tested the OnePlus 8 or even the 8 Pro or the iPhone SE 2, the Mi 10 is right now my favorite when it comes to taking photos in this price range. The camera is quite consistent across all the three lenses. I won't count the macro lens because that is something that you tend to use the least. But other than that, Xiaomi is giving you a lot of options to shoot, including for videos and for photos. So that's that. And the images also come out quite sharp and well detailed with a good mix of color and dynamic range. Having said that, there are a few downsides as well. Number one is the shutter lag that we have experienced even in the bin mode. That might end up marring the experience to an extent. The secondly is something that's minor, but something that did irk me a lot was the fact that I could see a lot of colors in the viewfinder while I was taking the photo, but when the actual photo came out, those colors were missing. Maybe that's something Xiaomi can work in a future software update to make the images look much more vibrant, but from what I already saw with the camera is quite good and perfectly worth the price tag that Xiaomi is charging for the Mi 10. So that's it from our side with this camera review. We're gonna meet you guys again in another video. Don't forget to hit the bell icon and don't forget to share and like this video and to leave your comments down below. And for more videos like this, stay tuned to digit.in. Thank you.